All right. Good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on Easter Monday, the Monday after Easter. I never knew that was a thing growing up. That is not something we did in my house. We didn't we didn't do Easter Monday. I don't even remember Good Friday being that big of a deal when I was growing up because it's not a government holiday, so the postal employees had to work, the bankers had to work, the land developers had to work. School kids had to go to school. But now they get Good Friday off and they get Easter Monday off, which I'm all for it. Let them have some time off, their kids. So this is the day. These are the 5:30 in the morning is when we do the sketch of the day. We take an object from the Randomogrifier. This time an Easter egg full of a toy like that parachutist right there. I called it a Skydiver. Apparently the official term is parachutist. So let's turn the page and get started. He's top heavy, if you haven't noticed. My mom and dad are in the chat. Hi, Mom and Dad. But he's top heavy. The parachute being hard plastic like it is instead of silk makes it easier to put him upside down than it is to put him right side up. This is one of those shapes that's going to be real easy to imagine what's there instead of drawing what's really there. So I have to be careful. And pay real close attention to what I'm doing. I already want to change these angles. I'm already trying to make him go different ways. Did you guys see the Pope died this morning? Or the Pope died overnight? Me not being Catholic, that my son is actually awake on a day when he does not have school. And he said, and then I noticed, and then I found out the Pope died. And I was like, what? This is not where it belongs. But he's been sick for a while. The Pope, not my son. But again, not being Catholic, he said, what are we supposed to do? He said, I think we're supposed to have 9 days of mourning or something. Why would you... Why would that be any different than any other celebrity dying? But okay. This is a mess. We're not living with that. This is a mess. I don't know what I did wrong. I don't even know where I was going. I am recording. Thank you for asking, Mother. She's performing her duties as a producer. Thank you for asking. I need to get an idea of where that angle is. That angle is I think I tried to make the little model person bigger so I could get more detail in. But it was at the expense of the placement of the parachute. See, like I keep trying to aim this part right here. I keep trying to aim it this way, and it's not. It's not pointed. It's that way. I know this doesn't make any sense because you can't see what I see, but it's a toy. It's not a silk parachute in the sky, so it doesn't behave like a silk parachute in the sky. And it has toy proportions. Anyway, I hope everybody had a really good Easter, you know, considering if the Pope died. I had a good Easter. I got all the deviled eggs. My dad and I ate all the deviled eggs. We didn't even eat all of them. There were some left over, which is weird. I didn't even think my mom made a dozen eggs. And there were eggs left over? That's just crazy. Alright, I think we got the composition down. Mom says the music's loud. I can't tell. Is the music loud or am I just being quiet? I don't think that helps. I think it records it internally. Yeah. She says their eating habits have changed. My eating habits have changed also. I got halfway through my plate yesterday. And I was ready to take a nap. I don't think there's anything I can do about the music. I think that's about as low as I can turn it and still be able to hear it. Alright, let's start getting some lines in here because we're rapidly running out of time. It's already 5:38. Yeah, our eating habits have changed for sure. Like I said, I was halfway through one plate yesterday, and I was full. And then I didn't even eat any angel food cake. We traditionally, our holiday go-to cake is angel food cake, and I didn't even have any. I thought that maybe after I had sat and breathed for a little bit, I would be able to have some angel food cake. That was not the case. That was not the case at all. All I could think of after is I need a nap. I tell you, after drawing so many of the Safari limited toys to draw something like this is wild. Maybe, and this might still be Safari limited, but this does not meet the same standard of realism that they normally provide. I don't want to say it's not Safari because I can't see that it's not Safari, but normally the Safari toys are quite realistic looking. Safari, if you're watching, call me. Where's that line going? It's going out this way, but it's curved this way. Alright, there's that. And this one's fairly straight. But it's more. You know, I'm going to have to get out of this habit because I think when I finish this notebook, I'm going to come back and do the next one in fountain pen. And if I'm working in fountain pen, I'm not going to be able to. I'm not going to be able to erase. So I'm going to have to get out of the habit of reaching for the eraser every time I think I've made a mistake. Can't talk already. Oh. We didn't do what we normally do on Easter. Normally we have, on every holiday at my mom's and my granny's prior to that, we would have turkey and ham. We'd have turkey noodles with giblet gravy. And then, like, was it last year, we discovered that none of us really like turkey. Not that we dislike turkey, it's just not, of all the foods that were on the table, turkey's not the thing we really liked. And so we didn't do that yesterday. So my mom didn't have to get up at 5:30 and start cooking turkey. She had to get up at 5:30 to come watch her son sketch while she did the crochet. curious. I don't see Claudia. I'm curious what the traditions are in the Netherlands for Easter. Mom says it's much more pleasant getting up in the morning to do sketches and crochet. She says that's much more pleasant than getting up at 5:30 to go put a turkey in the oven. See, that is more round. I made that way more round than it actually is, but we're going to live with it. We're just going to live with it. That's what we're going to do. He says as he reaches for his eraser. I think that fixed it too. Alright, I think we're ready to start some shading. Shading is the whole trick. Once you get the shading down, you can't fix a bad drawing with shading. I'll be the first to say you can't fix a bad drawing with shading. You can't shade your way out of a mistake. But once you start shading, it's easier to see where your mistakes are and what you need to do to fix them. You know what, let's go ahead, while we have that, let's go ahead and get all of these little marks out of here. There's a lot of stray marks there that just are going to confuse. They're going to confuse us when we get there. So, let's start with this and this and this and this. So if you're playing along with the Spanish word of the day, you know, the Spanish word of the day has absolutely nothing to do with the art. I just thought maybe you'd be interested because I'm interested. I'm learning Spanish. And it gives me something to distract myself so that while I'm arting, I don't get hyper fixated on one spot. It actually helps me move around the drawing. because I'm not hyper fixated on that one spot. So the Spanish word of the day yesterday was picar. Picar. It has several meanings: bite, itch, sting. I think I've noticed, and maybe some of my Spanish-speaking followers can verify this, so much of the Spanish language, and English also, but so much of what I've noticed about the Spanish language is contextual. You almost have to know what we're talking about to know what we're saying in Spanish. English has that as well, but it just, and maybe it's because I can pick up on the contextual cues so much easier in English because I'm so used to it. But in Spanish it seems like so much of it is just contextual. So picar, picar, picar being my example for today. To bite, a bite or sting or itch. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, what? Hyperfixated. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, being hyperfixated. But the sample sentence was, no quieres que te pique una abeja. I don't want to be stung by a bee. Or you don't want to be stung by a bee. No quieres. You don't want to be stung by a bee. No quieres. Anyway, let me know in the chat or in the comments if you're watching the recording, if you're interested in me going on with the Spanish word of the day. I'm pretty sure most of you are, because and that's just what we do. This is one of those cases where those extra lines are really jacking with me. Doing a little bit of scumbling here. Normally I try to make the pen go around like where it only goes in one direction, but I'm trying to go ahead and blend these lines at the same time. Shiny things are either on or off with reflections. I mean with shadows. So I don't want an edge that is fuzzy. I want to make sure my edge is nice and clean because that's a shiny thing. Now, having said that, it also has places where it's not as bright. Coffee break. We all have places where we're not so bright, so I just learned not to take it personally. That is not that far out, but I actually kind of like the swooping of it, so I'm going to leave the swoop. Clean up these lines so that I don't shade where I shouldn't be shading, and I don't forget to shade where I should be. The entire shadow is darker than the toy, so What do you say? What are you saying what to? Mom said what in the chat. I don't know what she said what to. That was a pretty sudden what. Out of context. It was an out of context what? What? You mean we aren't bright? No, I said sometimes. Sometimes we all have moments where we are not bright. Can't talk, Arting. Alright, how are we doing on time? It's already 6:05. I have to get ready for work. I'm going to call this one because we could sit here all day long and fuss with the details, but then it's not a sketch, right? I mean, I see like Jess Carp. Let me just throw this out here. Jess Carp dropped a video. Jess Carp is a former animator for Disney. I don't know if she's going to return to Disney as an animator or not. She's a former animator for Disney. She's a background animator. You know, when we think of the people that draw the cartoons, we think of them just drawing the whole thing. But the truth of the matter is there's one person that draws the character. There may even be one person who only draws the character's facial expressions. But there's one person that draws the character. One person draws in the like the furniture in the room. He's really good at drawing the furniture in the room. But then there's another person whose job it is to maintain the continuity of the background. And they've got the hillsides and the trees and all that. Anyway, that's what Jess did. I think it's Jess Carpenter. I follow her on YouTube. She's really quite lovely and a very talented artist. And she dropped a video this weekend or the last few days about her sketchbook. She finished a 30-day drawing challenge where she drew every day for 30 days. And it's her sketchbook, and she's opening up her sketchbook, and every sketch in there is a brush pen finished drawing. There's no mistakes. There's no. You're never going to convince me that you walked out there in nature with a brush pen and every line you made was perfect. You're never ever going to convince me of that. I don't care how good an artist you are. You're standing in a scene, and the point is that if it's a sketchbook, it should have, sketches in it, not finished drawings. This is not a finished drawing book. This is a sketchbook. Now, I'm not trying to talk bad about her. She was working out of a product called a sketchbook. She was working out of a sketchbook. I'm not trying to disparage her at all, because she is, like I said, she's quite a talented artist, and she knows what she's doing. But maybe I'm just jealous. I don't know. But point of story. This is a sketch. This is not a finished drawing where we're going to spend 16 hours working out all the details and then try to make prints out of it. But this is the comparison from my perspective. I'll let you be the judge of how accurate we were. I think we got a pretty good. This could have been a little more smooth, but I think we got a pretty good capture there. Maybe the elbows need to come out just a little more, but like I said, we can sit here and fuss with the details all day long, but we're not gonna. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. It is 10 after, so I really have to get ready for work. I really am enjoying these morning sketches, and this is quite sustainable as long as I go to bed at a decent time. Goodness, I was up last night at unnecessarily midnight for no reason, sitting there learning about parachutists and why they would jump off of a cliff with a silk chute in the 1700s. I have no idea, but it was an interesting read on Wikipedia about parachutists, and then we didn't even talk about it. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I will see you. Today's Monday. I will see you tomorrow at 5:30 in the morning. Peace out. I don't think I have to do the freeze thing, and then we dance. We dance until somebody sees me dancing. I don't think I have to do that. I don't think there's a lag like there used to be on Ustream. So we'll see you tomorrow.